back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. This is going to be an interesting segment right here because I've been having this guy on the program for about 25 years, and certainly in the formative stages of WNST and the formative stages of the Baltimore Ravens. Kevin Byrne, you're not looking at me right now. You're looking at some golf course in Hilton Head doing whatever you're doing in semi-retirement. But I am wearing the hat on my head that Eddie Carroll gave me off the table with John Ogden, off of John Ogden's head, literally, at the Paramount Theater on April the 19th, 1996. And, that Ray Lewis guy came a little later on. But I'm wearing the original hat here, so I want to give you some love,
It fits you better than it fit Jonathan, I can tell you that.
It didn't. That's why John gave it to me, because it didn't fit his head. So. Hey, man, these don't have snaps big enough for me, man. We've come a long way from that day. I guess that sets the tone of our relationship, that doesn't it? Because I did not meet you the day that the Browns fans tore apart the old stadium. I got a press pass from you that day, and I bought tickets that day, but you were a little distressed that day, as I remember it. I did meet the mayor of Cleveland that day up at the corner of, I believe, 6th and Lakeside or wherever it was. And I think the day I met you was, maybe it was the day that you brought Rob Burnett and Eric Turner to the – That's right. Terrible. I don't remember the day I met you. Maybe I met you at Memorial Stadium when Ted Marchibroda was coming in. Does that sound right?
Could have been, or when we brought Vinny Testaverde and Tony Jones and Ernest Biner and Rob Burnett. It could have been that day. We brought them and did a one-day tour of Baltimore, and first place we went is to Memorial Stadium, and the first thing the former Browns said to me is, "This place is better than the one we played in Cleveland. They're going to tear this down."
No. Hold on, man. We were playing CFL football there. That place was refurbished.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it had running water. That was a plus.
I was underneath of your stadium chasing down a soaking wet Johnny Oates. I guess that was in the end of '94. So I had been in your stadium really, really near that time. Well, first off, we're tipping our cap for the Negro Baseball Leagues, and I'll tip my cap to you and the original hat here that you did your time, Kevin Byrne. I don't know why you're leaving, but ever since you left, like a plague has taken over me. Two things, you leaving and the Washington Nationals winning a World Series have created a plague. I'm waiting for the locusts, man.
Oh, man. What a strange world we're living in, and what a strange time for mankind, but obviously, too, a strange time in the history of sports. We'll never see this again. We'll never go through this again. We'll never experience anything like this again.
All right, so give me your story, because I was, unbeknownst to you, with your head coach probably like a day and a half or 2 days before COVID. Like, he and I got together and just hung out and talked about things, and no one let on you were leaving. It kind of hit me when when I saw it online, like everyone. I don't know the timeline of you thinking you were leaving, deciding you were going to leave, really were going to leave, COVID hit, then we had a draft. Like, I haven't talked to you on or off the air in any way much in like 6 months, because this has been really weird. Leaving's weird, Kevin Byrne. You're not allowed to leave under these circumstances. I'm calling Bisciotti.
Well, I went to see Steve in maybe right around Christmas time. He had come into the office, and I wanted to tell him first before I told anybody else. And as you know, Steve's not in the office regularly, and I didn't want to talk to him over the phone.
Hold on, let me put this in perspective, though. This is Christmas. Yeah. We're 13-2. We might win the Super Bowl. We might not, but you think we might. And you, right. So this, I just want to get back to where your head was at this point, right? Because we're a pretty good football team to call Steve and say, now's the time to get out. What?
well, he came in the office, and I think we were either 12-2 or 13-2 at the time. On that 12-game win streak.
How many times have you been 13-2 in your 40 years?
Oh, geez. One.
Okay.
We were 13-3 with Coach Billick. Then we lost to the Colts, dang it, at home. But I went in, Steve was in, and so I went in to see him. I say, Steve, I don't want to surprise you by this, but I plan to retire after the season, and I'm willing to stay as long as you guys will have me or want me. I can work through the draft, help Eric as much as I can through his second draft, and maybe the first couple weeks of May, because we have some events we do in early May with our big sponsors and our suite holders. And he smiled at me and said, it was very flattering. He says, "Well, no," he said, "I don't want to lose my old guys," and which was very nice of him to do. And then I explained that, Sally, my wife, and I have been talking about this, and in fact that we plan to move out of town, which we have, to Hilton Head. And so he goes, we're going to be pretty good. And that was, every time I said that I plan to retire with somebody, John Harbaugh, Ozzie, Eric DeCosta, Pat Moriarty, the handful of people I wanted to tell firsthand, they almost immediately said, we're really going to be good, and we're going to have shots to win this thing every year for the near future, which the Ravens will. And but I'll still be part of it in some way, I think. But we had made the decision, and we're happy with it. We'll still stay connected with Baltimore. We'll go back and forth. We have two of our sons live in Baltimore. Our grandson lives in Baltimore. So we'll be up there on a regular basis.
Well, so as far as talking you in or talking you out in one way or another, I guess you come to these circumstances in your life, but the part where you're going to be good means it's more work. That's kind of the way I thought about it as well. For you in fulfilling like your career thoughts and goals and where you are, I mean, I started talking, my wife feels like she knows you well. We know you socially and have known you forever, and you were in my life before my wife came in my life, and in my wedding, the whole deal. And I said to my wife, I said, Kevin worked for TWA. She's like, what? I'm like, what? No, he worked at St. Louis. Like, he had a whole career in an airline that he came back to football. And you know what? I want you to tell the story because she doesn't know it. And maybe Don Muller. I'm going to get Don next time, but I bet Dick Cass knows, but I bet a lot of people that know you don't know your story with the St. Louis Cardinals and Conrad Dobler and
Dan Deerdorf.
Oh, Jim Hart. I know you have those stories, but give me that timeline about. And by the way, I'm gonna pull back because I have Art Modell. I keep the picture right next to the leg lamp. Art would probably appreciate that. But I have Art Modell. Art changed your life, and I know that. But give me the timeline because I don't want to get the story wrong because it was like Cleveland, St. Louis, Cleveland, Milwaukee. And by the way, I saw McGuire, an old picture of him that I almost right-clicked and sent to you. But I want to hear the Byrne story about how you wound up here.
Well, I was the sports information director at Marquette University. We won the NCAA basketball championship with a famous basketball coach, Al McGuire. We beat Dean Smith in North Carolina in the championship game. They had Phil Ford and Walter Davis on that team. And that job worked into becoming the youngest PR director in the NFL for the St. Louis Football Cardinals, with a team with Joe Gibbs was our running back coach. That's how long ago it was.
Was that Hannah?
Yeah.
Who was the head coach?
Don Coryell was our head coach. Jim Hart was our quarterback. Terry Metcalf, our Pro Bowl running back. And I was there for 2 years, and it was not a franchise I was comfortable with. And so I left there, and TWA, which is a worldwide airline, was based in St. Louis. And they had Anheuser-Busch and TWA, both based in St. Louis, had made runs at me. And so I went to TWA as Director of Public Affairs. Dan Deerdorf, people will recall, Hall of Fame football player, voice of Monday Night Football at one time. He's a good friend. And whenever he would call me at TWA, he would be a famous Cleveland Brown because we're both from Northeast Ohio. And my assistant didn't know anything about sports, so she would walk in and she'd say, Jim Brown's on the phone. or she'd come and say, Ozzie Newsome's on the phone.
Lou Groza.
And, whomever, Lou Groza, Dante Lavelli. And so she walks in one day and she says, Art Modell's on the phone. And I pick up the phone. I go, yeah, Art, what can I do for you? And this woman says, pardon me. And I said, where's Dan? Did Dan put you up to this? She goes, who is Dan? I said, well, who is this? And she goes, well, my name is Marilyn McGrath. I work with the Cleveland Browns. I work with Art Modell. He would like to speak with you. And I said, really? This is really Art Modell? And she goes, yes. I said, well, I hope you have a sense of humor. And I remember Marilyn laughed. She says, I think you're going to find out. And sure enough, it was Art Modell inviting me to come to Cleveland and talk to him about a job there. And Cleveland's my hometown. I'd never envisioned going back to my hometown after high school.
Now,
and
the owner of the team called you as a PR. I mean, that's powerful, right? I mean, and that's the
powerful.
early 1980s, is in that range.
Right. It was the Browns actually had just lost the Red Right 88 game to the Oakland Raiders.
Wow. Okay.
And so it was like a month later, and so I talked with them, and to even make it better, when at the end of a half day with Art Modell, he says, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, I want to talk to my wife. We have 3 children," and he goes, "Well, do this. Come back next week, and meet our head coach, and then you make your decision." Their head coach was Sam Rutigliano, a great guy who had coached the Pro Bowl and was still out there. And so the next week, I go out there, and Sam Rutigliano picks me up at the airport. Couldn't have been better. They were so kind and gracious and welcoming to me, and plus it was my hometown. I was trying to do the best tap dance I could, Nestor. And
you're really trying to get this gig, right? You want to come home, right?
Right, yeah. So,
well, you had been in Milwaukee and St. Louis. Like, getting home was important, right?
Yes, and I had really not thought of it. And to go home, and the Browns at that time were heroes. They were part of the fabric of the community. It was the only team that had won in Cleveland for years. The Indians were awful most of my lifetime. The Cavaliers were not that good, had never been that good. So, I was able to go back to my hometown, reconnect with all my family and friends from high school, in grade school. It was great. And lo and behold, 15 years later, Art brings me in the office and said, we're going to move, and we won't be the Browns, and I hope you go with me. And then we ended up in Baltimore. Loved the Mid-Atlantic. We're there almost 25 years. Some of our best friends now are Baltimoreans, and we loved it there. And the success of the franchise, the Ravens, to become part of the fabric like we have, it's just been a wonderful experience. And so many good people we've had in the organization. We've met so many good people because of the power of the NFL. We've been very, very fortunate to have what we have in Baltimore.
Well, Kevin Byrne is here, a long time. I never got your title right. Vice President. Am I getting it right? Am I starting it right? Or Senior Vice President? Hold on, Senior.
It's even higher. It's now Executive Vice President.
Is it emeritus yet, or no? We don't get that yet.
It's not emeritus. I don't like.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
I think it's just Executive Vice President / almost retired.
Well, as I wear this 1996 hat, and I do a lot of radio here and a lot of topics in a lot of different ways, especially during this COVID. The last couple of maybe week or so, the Redskins name and what's going on there, and whether the league's going to play. We can get to all that, and we'll be talking about that forever, and how the world's going to change the next 2 weeks of the NFL. But when you came here, I remember the Orioles own this place. This is 1990. The Orioles own this place, and certainly the Washington Redskins thought they owned all of it, right? I mean, that's how Laurel didn't happen, and I've painted that picture many, many times, and Governor Schaefer and his role, and Paris Glendening, and money, and lottery money, and the stadium, and all of that. But it is really amazing in my time, and I'm almost in my 30th year, 29 years in December that I've been on the radio, that I remember losing the team, working at the News American, working the whole time at the Evening Sun for 6 years, where there was no team and very little promise of a team. Herb Belgrad bringing crab cakes every year, trying to win over Leonard Toast and Rankin Smith and Lord knows whoever else, right? And then having the game with the Dolphins and the Saints, where we had 3 owners trying to get the team. And then you guys just sort of come out of the dust and show up here, and we got purple uniforms, and Vinny, who I saw at the Super Bowl a couple of months ago, and you and Bill T and David, all of that. But 25 years later, the Washington football team's changing their name. The Orioles, I don't even know what to say. We're in the 29th year of a 30-year lease, and they may play, they may not. They are what they are as a brand. And the Washington Nationals have won the World Series. You know, like, you talk about somebody coming back from 1995 now and saying, what conspired? We've had 2 parades, Kevin. I don't need to tell you. I mean, what conspired to have all of this take place? Because it really has been quite the story since you landed on the Ark here in Baltimore in January of 1996, right? I mean, literally.
That's a great way to put it. You know, we landed there, and, you know, we got to work right away. And I remember, Nestor, I would just be slump-shouldered driving home from work at our old facility in Owings Mills, the old police academy, which had been the Baltimore Colts facility way back when in 1983, and thinking, God, we don't exist. I'd never see a Ravens sticker. I never see a Ravens flag. You know, all I see is Orioles. I see some Terps. I even see a couple Redskins. This is awful. You know,
and you saw Steelers stuff early on too, right?
Right.
I was an Oiler fan, which, man, that made your stomach turn. I mean, you had some rough days with Warren Moon.
We did. You know, and so you know, our goal was to win and turn all that around, and our goal was also to become part of everyday life in Baltimore. That the people here could count on the Ravens to contribute to the community beyond the football field. We made the great effort to get our players and our personnel out in the community. You'll remember we took Art Modell. I tired him out. What we must have made 30 visits. You know, we came to your house / studio, and I remember coming in there with Art, and I'm wondering if I'm on the right road. Where are you, Art? Going? Where are you taking me?
I can hear Art saying, "Kevin, I saw deliverance. We're in deliverance. I'm telling you."
Art, we're close to the Beltway. Honest, this is going to be.
Where the hell is this place, Kevin? Oh, Kevin Byrne is here.
We had some fun, Nestor.
Well, we did, and as things move and things change around, certainly where we've been here in the last 6 months. And by the way, a couple of things on memory lane. Mike Flynn finally found the tape from the first parade. Okay, you're in it. You and Aaron Cashman are the 2 first people. You're in the parking lot where all the Humvees were, and I almost choked from the smoke because I remember what it smelled like, the gasoline burning there that morning. But that tape came to me. COVID brought that on. COVID hasn't done much positive in my life, believe me, but it did get Mike Flynn into his garage, and he found the tapes. He said, so I'm going to share that with you and with everyone. Peter Boulware's waiting on it, Kenzie Boulware, a bunch of people. But
thank you.
Yeah, a couple of these parades, through this and all of this, and the disappointment of the Titans game and all that, but the pandemic and what this has done, and you not being there on a day-by-day basis. But I have a feeling your phone has rung a little bit the last 6, 8, 10 weeks about, hey, Kev, what do you think of this? I mean, because they're looking to you because of this. There is no playbook for anybody for this. I don't think they should play at this point. I don't think they can finish a season based on what my eyes have seen. And I'll just give you one little thing, and I'll let you rant on it because I haven't heard what most people have had to say because I haven't asked anybody. But I thought about this last week. Where else would we sanction 22 men at this point to take off masks, wrestle around in the mud for entertainment and wagering purposes on the weekend? There's nowhere we would sanction that safely. And then above and beyond all of that, when I thought about this from a kids going to school perspective, because that's the big story this week, someone wrote, and this was a regular person, it wasn't a media pundit, it was just a soccer mom, wrote, baseball and basketball and football have millions and millions of dollars, test bubbles in Orlando, sequestering all of this, and they haven't been able to keep their athletes clean this month. What makes America think we could send our kids back? So on the heavier side of that, and I know on the NFL side, your whole industry's looking for an answer because we all want an answer. We want football. Everybody wants football, right?
Oh, yes. And we want some normalcy. We want some entertainment. And We want to provide it if we can, but we can't do it without being safe. And so, I keep receiving. We've had lots and lots of Zoom meetings internally. That Dick Cass is spearheading, and we haven't seen each other. Going to the building. That was an awful part of this too. Like everybody else. John Harbaugh would be doing meetings with the players from his home, and Eric DeCosta did the draft from his home, for God's sake. So,
and you fixed Eric's Wi-Fi, and I appreciate that.
Right, and we will not be unsafe going forward. There are protocol upon protocol, and one day you get a 60-page memo from the league office. These will be our protocol once we open up. Then 2 days later, here are the new protocols, and it's 80 pages long, and there are doctors involved, and of course the Players Association is involved. So it will be done if we do it safely. And so our hope is that we can get it done. The players have been working very hard. We've been testing players, as people have heard, through Zoom, with put your phone down there, and we want you to run this and do this. We want put your phone near the weights. Let us see what you're doing here. I give our strength and conditioning staff a lot of credit for the way they've handled all of that. So
everybody's had to adapt, right? Like literally,
everybody's had to adapt. And our world is entertainment. So we're not life and death. But if we can play, I think it will do a great deal of good for the community.
My concern is starting to play and not finishing, right? I'm an outcome guy, and I keep thinking from a math standpoint and from a time standpoint and from a winter standpoint and from where the virus is standpoint and from how far away from a vaccine we are, the concern for me would be the Green Bay Packers lose their whole defensive room. You know what I mean? Like, and they can't play this week, or the Baltimore Ravens lose their defensive room, or whatever. That's the real concern for me, is that it's going to be half-assed. I don't know what there's way to say it, and not beyond anyone's control. And as I've said, we're America, right? We always think we can figure this out. We always think we can, we're going to find a way, and we're going to get through. And I have great admiration for all the leagues, and I know it's financially based. I get it. I've made my whole living. Every meal I've ever eaten has been because of sports and because Art Modell moved the team here, and you were magnanimous, and people were professional, and the city took to it, and people were really good at what they did all the way along, and Coach Billick and all of that stuff. But I look at it and say, as a fan being invested in this, and I don't think I'm sitting in the upper deck, Kevin. I mean, I have flights to Houston with you and Foxborough and Indianapolis.
Right.
And I have flights all to Cincinnati and Cleveland in December. I just don't envision that, I don't know the next time I'm going to touch John Harbaugh or be in a room and look at his eyes other than on Zoom or any of your players, right? So the relationship part of what my normalcy of coming out on Wednesday, being on an airplane, being in a hotel, talking to players, like all of that's gone. I know that's not coming back. But the part of it for me is saying, in Week 10, how are they going to have everybody on the field? And I know you're a league that plays through, right? I mean, your quarterbacks get hurt, you move on. You just move on.
Right.
And I think that mentality serves you well until you get into the building. And then this thing is, as 25 weeks of the journey for everyone. I'm just worried about the rest of it. I'm worried about these people's kids. I'm worried about their wives. I'm worried about their visiting family or,
grandparents.
All of that. Or a guy your age, and I know you're still a young man, Kevin, still working in the building. And, that not everybody is young and sexy and healthy, right?
Right. But I would be a target audience because I'm an old guy and I'm supposed to be more susceptible. Although I'm willing to play Eric DeCosta tomorrow on racquetball, and I'd have a chance to beat him. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, left-handed. Well, but from the league's perspective, this has been one hell of a crisis challenge for Roger, right? Through every Dick Cass and every Kevin Byrne and every John Harbaugh, all the way through, that there really was no playbook for this. Can you run me through March and getting into April and getting into how are we going to deal with players from the organization standpoint about how you had to adjust? And I know the NFL Network's done stories and all this, but for you guys, was it more think tanky about the Lions are doing it this way and the Cardinals are doing it that way, or the league mandating down this is the way everybody's going to do it?
No, I think I think we have some independent thinkers, so who are bright. We don't have all the answers, but I think we set our own pace within the parameters that the league has provided, and we spend a lot of time discussing it. And it's odd way to do it because it's via Zoom or it's via conference, and okay, what can we do? Do we keep our normal schedule for selling tickets? Now, last week we announced that, okay, we've collected from over 62,000 fans already, or 62,000 tickets sold, on our way to having another season with 65, which we'd like to cap it as, so we have some for single game sale. What do we do? And it's uncertain, just like all the things you just said, Nestor. So we said, well, let's let them have their money back, and then let's just say that this is going to be different. And what do we figure is the most we could have in the stadium without making people sick? Keeping that social distance. Well, we figured it was 14,000. That was done with a lot of study and a lot of thought. At the same time, the players may be looking at it saying, let's see, 14,000 going to be there to keep their distance. Well, I'm in a huddle, and I'm with 10 other guys, and I'm tackling somebody or blocking somebody. I'm in a physical game. Are we going to change the helmet? Are we going to have more of a shield? All those things are being discussed regularly, and so it is going to be different. We are adjusting. We almost adjust every single day. My kids make fun of me because I've told them through the years, life is a series of adjustments. Well, the whole world is adjusting now to COVID, and next week will look different than this week, and 8 days from now will look different than tomorrow, and 10 days from now, who knows what will look like. But we have to be prepared to play, and we will be prepared to play and compete at the highest level, and that's our goal as an organization. And if the rules change along the way, we'll adjust.
Well, we're all looking for certainty in a time where there is none, right? So that's just where it's at. I think more about this from a football perspective on having guys in a Zoom meeting to teaching football that way. Probably not tremendously dissimilar than being in a room to some degree. But then I think about your rookies not knowing each other and meeting each other. And so much of really, and you know this, and we talk about it, it's not hyperbole or BS. It's those championship teams. Those guys liked each other a little bit more. They pulled for each other a little bit more. They had a different kind of bond in order to win, and that was borne out having crab cakes in the summer and going fishing or doing the things that they do together, right?
Exactly. Well, let's use Lamar Jackson as an example. So Lamar comes in 2 years ago, or almost 3 years now, right? So, no, really
2 years
at this time. Yeah. And all the veterans right away recognize, independent of what he did on the field, this guy is special. He's got some magic about him. Well, I'm not sure if Lamar was a rookie this offseason, would he be able to show that magic that makes him a special teammate besides being a special player? I'm not sure it could happen now. So which one of these rookies we've drafted and signed, which one of them is special? I've heard Calais Campbell is one of the great human beings in the United States, but none of us have spent any time next to him.
Sam Kavaris was on with me last week. He's like, hey, have you met Calais? And he's like, oh, I guess you haven't. You haven't met anybody, right? I'm like, yeah.
We haven't met Calais. The coaches met him at the Pro Bowl, but he hasn't been in the building. He hasn't come to get a physical in Baltimore. It's so bizarre what's going on right now, and but we'll adjust, and it'll be exciting when those guys come into one winning drive in a couple weeks. I'm knocking here on some wood, and we'll see if that happens. But I'll also say there are constant adjustments to what the protocols are and we have to pay attention every single day, and we have to discuss it every day.
See, we were supposed to do this like teary-eyed goodbye, and you're going to go golf and all that. You're not golfing. I mean, they got you working. I mean, and I figured it'd be as much, especially in the middle of a pandemic. It's like, how are they going to live without Kevin around there? They're not. So, well, look, I hope you stay safe more than anything else, and we will talk some football, and I'm sure there'll be more memories, and I'll share the Super Bowl video with you and all that stuff when I get a chance. But I do hope that you do find whatever it is that's not going to work 5 days a week to be enjoyable for you. I know you to be like really, really super competitive dude. So like I'm a little worried for you. Like I think you need the fire. I think you'll be doing something else. I mean, I don't think you can golf 7 days a week. Maybe I'm wrong. Does Sally agree or no?
Well, Sally will go out with me every now and then too, so that'll be good. You know what I do miss, because in the facility, I can get competitors right away. I have somebody to play racquetball with, and we have a racquetball court. Eric DeCosta set up pickleball at the beginning of this off season, which was going to be a big builder of the community internally for us. And so that I'll miss having, hey, you want to do this at lunchtime, or do you want to do this at 6 o'clock tonight, or tomorrow morning at 7? So that competitive thing, it's one of the reasons I love being in the NFL. My franchise beats your franchise. That's a cool thing. So I've got to find some way to fill that, but I will. I will say that I will find a way. And also, Mister, I just want to say, and I know we'll talk again on the radio, but you were there from day one. You recognize that we were a group of good people trying to do the right things for Baltimore and the area. And I think you recognize, maybe the first guy to recognize, they're going to win. And you gave us a lot of respect early when we hadn't earned it yet, and I'll always be thankful for that.
I appreciate that, and it's funny you say that, because I thought about this earlier in the conversation. When Keith Mills retired, and I didn't find this on purpose, but I saw his name, and I thought, I wonder what that is. I found the tape from the first Super Bowl. So this was the New Orleans Bledsoe Favre Super Bowl. It was the first Super Bowl that the Ravens existed, that I went to Radio Row, we were at the Hyatt, and I grabbed Keith Mills, and on this tape, George Young sat down with me that hour. John Stedman was alive. It was like a Baltimore Friday afternoon. They did the voting on the Hall of Fame then,
Mm-hmm.
And Keith Mills sat down with me, and I found this tape. And it's 15 minutes of Keith and I talking about whatever the story. Hey, that John Ogden, he played a great guard this year, didn't he? It was like those kind of conversations, right? It literally was like that. And I said to Keith, Keith, and this is my little high-pitched nasty Nestor 1996 voice. Keith, I know the Orioles, and they're Cal Ripken, and they just made the playoffs, and they almost went to the World Series. But the Ravens are going to own Baltimore one day because they treat people better. And I found a tape of me saying that back in January '96, and I played it on the air when Keith retired about a year ago, and I thought, 24 years later, it is amazing. Again, I mean, not just what you've done and accomplished, but what the Orioles are, what the Washington football team, whatever they're going to call themselves, that there's a baseball. It's just amazing what a little bit of time does, right? And even for your hometown of Cleveland to have a football team, and that's still there, and the Browns are still there, and the helmet's there.
Right.
That 25 years later, you look up and see how much sports has changed and the world has changed, right?
Holy cow, it really has.
Well,
and you mentioned work. I spent an hour and a half doing a Zoom video with Keith Mills and a couple other guys 2 days ago on the 25 greatest games in Ravens history. That is, if I can plug the Ravens website,
away,
it'll
for
be
sure.
Yeah, it'll be on there. And you'll be able to link. I think fans will love this, Nestor. Not only will they get to see, Scott Garceau and Jerry Sandusky and Keith Mills and myself and some guys from our digital team talk about what we consider the 25 greatest games, but you'll be able to link to telecast and broadcast of all those games. And it'll be a lot of fun for our fans, I think.
I've missed 6 Ravens games in 23 years, home and away. So I did the math on that, and
that's amazing.
3 of them were related to my wife's illness. One was Billick's last game in Seattle, and one was the Y2K game. Remember that crazy game in New England when the world was going to change in 2000? Remember all that? So, I mean, just a handful of games all the years, and you literally missed none, right? Like you never missed a Ravens game, right?
No, I missed one preseason game.
Really?
Yeah, and we had a son up at Boston College, and he had an accident, and so my wife and I had to rush up there, and everything turned out to be fine. But I missed a preseason game, and I felt so out of it, not being in the link.
I gave up on the preseason games 10 years. I mean, the first 15 years, I took it seriously. You know, I was there when Dallas Thomas sacked Michael Vick. You know what I mean? But for me, you know, all these years, I appreciate everything. And I have so many memories with you. I get all misty-eyed talking about taking the elevator in Oakland, you know, winning the championship, all of the stuff that went on.
Yeah.
But it's been a hell of a ride, and you're not done. I mean, if Beyonce is singing in Tampa and the Ravens have won the Super Bowl, I have a feeling you'll be there. So.
Probably with an assignment.
And I'll be watching on Instagram to see who else is there. So, hey, be well and take care of yourself. Congratulations for getting out. While the getting out's good, but it's like The Godfather, too. They're not going to let you out.
Justin, thank you very much.
Kevin Byrne, the man, the myth, the legend, senior executive emeritus. I don't know. I never got his title right in 25 years. It's part of the shtick. and he will be around as well. And I hope we play football. I hope we play it safely. I'm worried about all of this and all of us at this point until such point we get a vaccine and people like my wife and people like Kevin Byrne and young people and old people alike are all safe. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We're doing all things calm, local, and Baltimore positive, including trying to get the Baltimore Ravens on the football field.